Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman.
Co-host Carissa.
Carissa, how you doing?
Good, how are you? How was your weekend?
Not bad, not bad. Just, of course, enjoying it. And just real quick, 1 second. I'm getting a little bit of background feedback from you, so let's actually fix that real quick. Yeah, still getting it, just barely happening in the background. Let's see, and I think it is coming from you. So I don't know if you can turn down the gain just like a little bit.
Yeah, let's see what that does. Just a little bit down. Here we go. How's that? Any better?
Yeah. You know what? It's good. I can't hear it, but I can see it on the visualizer. Anyways, okay, let's just go ahead and continue on. I had a great weekend. I spent it at home, didn't do much, which I think a lot of people have been doing this year, so I'm not too embarrassed, but hopefully you had a good weekend too.
I did. I actually did some swapping of the water in my aquarium for my axolotl, so that was very productive. And I played some Dungeons and Dragons yesterday. So not too
many people have or have seen an axolotl. Why an axolotl?
Well, it's I'm not sure, honestly. I just thought they were pretty cool, and I got her, and I've had her for about 3.5 years now, almost 4 years now, and she's fat and sassy, and she's pretty cool. I mean, it's like
what is her name?
Interacts with you. Her name's Lollipop.
Lollipop, good name.
Yeah. If you hold her up by the tail, she looks like a lollipop.
that's a very good reason to have that name. So and also Dungeons and Dragons, and it's I know this is more just talking about Twitch in general, more than it is talking about technology, but on Twitch, which is a live streaming platform for anyone out there who's unfamiliar, by the way, twitch.tv/Computer America, I gotta say that Dungeons and Dragons has actually been getting a lot of traction lately to watch people play campaigns, and some people do it very good at turning it into not a sport, but a spectating event, almost like a role-playing live-action television show.
Absolutely. I've been seeing that too, and I actually just had a friend, he listens to podcasts a whole lot. He was like, yeah, I listen to these two guys and their dad play Dungeons and Dragons all the time, and it's tons of fun, and they really get into it, and it just seems like it's really interesting because it gives you the same effect as Twitch, where it's almost as good as playing the game yourself.
Yeah, I never considered podcasts too, but I guess podcasts would be a great format for Dungeons and Dragons because it's very easy to make it episodic, and you could probably curate it and kind of edit it down. That's interesting, and of course you would think in the day and age of high technology and all the different toys and gadgets people get to play with, that, don't get me wrong, technology is definitely playing a role, but it's Dungeons and Dragons. It happens in your head. It's almost surprising to see something like that
special
happen.
About it. The fact that you don't need anything to play it makes it really interesting.
Very accessible unless you want to actually know the rules. Then, oh my God, it is complicated as heck. But But there you go. Hey, we're not going to get too much into Dungeons and Dragons. I'll just say that I've been watching a lot of that, and I get it. So, with that being said, everyone, welcome into the Computer America Show once again. Everyone, before we get started, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything: past shows, future shows, all the shows, podcasts, articles, reviews, and more. We'll have some more stuff up on the website. We have some recent reviews from the past week, as well as some articles, and trying to think about what is coming up next. I have a few ideas in my head, but check out the website. You'll find out there. Also find us on social media at Computer America on all socials. And I think that should be about it. Today on the show, we have computer and technology news for the full hour, and we're not going to be talking about axolotls if you're watching the video portion, but instead we have a slew of different stories and tech stuff, and it's all very interesting. Today was actually a very, very good day for tech, so I'm looking forward to it. So Carissa, last chance, anything else you want to get off your chest before we get into the news?
Nope, I'm ready.
All right, perfect. Everyone, computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Close. All right, everyone. So I think that our first story, we have a lot of them, and I think we're going to, let's see, I had one in my head that I really wanted to do first, and it was about, not Apple, there's a lot of Apple, but not Apple in particular. Okay, let's start out with something fun. And Carissa, has your internet ever gone out?
Absolutely.
Do you use the Chrome browser?
I do, mostly.
Mostly, and of course, there's Firefox and Opera and all the other stuff. But on Chrome, for anyone out there who does not meet that little Venn diagram in that overlap, when your internet goes out and you have Chrome, you get the Dinosaur game. The Dinosaur browser game, if you would like. I'm sure that you can go somewhere and actually play it, without losing internet connection. But essentially, it's a very simple game that you are a dinosaur on the left, and the only button is the space bar. You automatically scroll to the right, and you have to jump over cacti. You have to avoid pterodactyls, and yeah, it's a very, very simple game that otherwise is, just something to pass the time, because if your internet goes out, hey, what else do you have to do than play the Dinosaur game? And Carissa, again, I'm assuming you've played it.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen this dinosaur so many times.
Absolutely. That will be an indictment on your internet provider. So, with that being said, though, looks like there is an improvement, and this is thanks to a Chrome extension. And by the way, I guess the whole thing is more of an Easter egg than it is an actual feature, because when you see it, you see the little dinosaur on the, there's no internet connection, and you have to press spacebar to start the game. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know the game exists. So there you go. It's an Easter egg. Now, there's a modded version called Dino Swords. Dino Swords. Get it? Instead of dinosaurs. So, yes.
Nice.
Very, wait, I got this. There we go. Yeah, Dino Swords. There you go. So, with that being said, they've modded it. And now you can find and use up to 26 different weapons. And by the way, if you want to check it out without downloading the browser extension, you can go to dinoswords.gg. We'll, of course, have a link to this in the show notes. But you can find up to 26 different weapons, compete for the high score on the global leaderboards, which the Dinosaur game does not have leaderboards. The best you got is a screenshot that you can do and post wherever you want it. And the highest score after 1 week wins a prize. And, of course, who knows what the prize is? But there you go. And yeah, it's a partnership between the internet collective MSCHF and 100 Thieves that gives the adorable granulated T-Rex an assortment of weapons to use. And if you're watching the video portion, you can see them all there, but you can also see the sprites here. We'll zoom in just a little bit. And for those of you who are watching, and of course, some of them behind my head here, but you can get everything from an attack helicopter, looks like even a cigarette, Cloud's Buster Sword, a ninja star, hammer, a tank, and more. So, yeah, these are definitely not in the base Dinosaur game that you get from from Chrome.
That's so fun.
Pretty cool. Yeah. So they said that, let's see. So this comes again from 100 Thieves owner, Nade Shot. Many of them pay homage to classic video games weapons. Some of them are totally original, and a lot of them are completely useless. There's even a few Easter eggs that you can, of course, unlock as well. So Dino Swords. It's, hey, look, they even have the portal gun right there. Portal. But yeah, completely useless, I think would be a great slogan for this extension. But hey, it's adding a little spice to an otherwise pretty innocuous Easter egg. And I thought that was pretty cute.
Absolutely. That's a great find.
Absolutely. So there's that first story. Second story, let's kind of stick with the light and fluffy stuff. And Krista, I'm going to ask you, were you one of the 7 people that watched the Justice League in theaters?
I was not. I don't know anything about the Justice League. I'm not actually super huge into comic book movies, actually.
Well, okay, so I'm decently into comic book movies. Well, actually, more into the comic book universe. But the Justice League, for those of you who don't know, is essentially the answer to Marvel's Avengers. They came out with a couple Batman movies. They had a Flash television series. They had an Aquaman movie, which I think came out after the Justice League movie. Essentially, they wanted to, and of course there was a Wonder Woman movie as well, and a Superman movie. The point is, they kind of rushed into the Justice League style movie that Marvel took years to kind of cultivate. Because when Marvel did it, they started with Iron Man, and then of course they had like a Hulk movie, they had Guardians of the Galaxy, all that kind of stuff. So you were kind of emotionally invested in these characters when they all showed up on screen together. It was like, this is it, this is awesome. And then when the Justice League did it, it was like, oh, well, there you go. They're Cyborg, even though it's such a cool universe and there was so much potential. And they said that a not halfway, but a certain way through the film and its filming, there was the unfortunate suicide of Snyder's daughter in 2017 that kind of took him out of the project completely, and instead the studio turned it over to Joss Whedon because it's very tragic that the director had this happen in his life, but this is tens or hundreds of millions of dollars worth of shoots and reshoots and what have you that they couldn't just scrap it. So Joss Whedon did what he did best. He kind of did what he could with the material he was given, and out came Justice League. Didn't get as much fanfare. Critics called it, let's see, according to the article here, critics called it pretty slow, lacked humor, it had a dark tone, and otherwise it was a pretty basic story without a lot of twist. Carissa, that should have caught you up. So the twist here is that Snyder came back to the project, but obviously the movie had already been released. Everything was already done. It was set in stone. It was a pretty lackluster showing for what should be a huge kickoff to a huge franchise. Now, for I think the first time ever, like I can't even, they have like remasters and like with Star Wars movies, they add like digital effects after the fact, stuff like that. But this is a complete reshoot where, if I'm not mistaken, where they are going to cut this like 2-hour movie into a 4-hour movie. They even brought all the actors back years after the original was done shooting, and they did some reshoots of certain scenes. So there will be footage that has never been seen before. It's not just, off the floor, but it's actually completely new. And he's releasing it as a 4-part miniseries on HBO that will be essentially the movie, but chopped up into 4 different parts and have a different pacing. It will focus on different events. It will have the characters with different dialogue. It's going to be a completely different experience as opposed to the Justice League.
That's really interesting. I feel like that might be really great. And open up a lot of doors for other directors and movies and content. Because a lot of the times you'll go to the movie theater and be like, oh man, it's over already after 2 hours. You're like, there's so much more story. So it's like in between being a TV show or a book and a movie. You get more of the stuff that you're looking for.
For sure. It's not many times that a director gets to come back to a project that's already done, released, shot, and all that good stuff and says, I want to put out my vision. And that the studio actually says, all right, we'll put even more money into a project that is done earning money. So here, and just want to quote the article a little bit for those of you who are fans of the Justice League. They said that... They said that they will see a more of their respective characters. The Flash will have a more emotional arc, and Cyborg will be the heart of the movie. He holds the team together in a lot of ways, and he's excited for the fans to see how it's realized. And let's see. So there's the article says that good news for Fisher, who plays the Flash, who has recently aired his frustrations with the behavior of Whedon on the Justice League set after Snyder's departure. They said that Joss Whedon on set treatment of the cast and crew was gross, abusive, and unprofessional and completely unacceptable. And so I guess there were also some creative differences that I guess Snyder doesn't have to deal with. So all that being said, HBO, the trailer was just released. We highly encourage you to go check out the trailer. It's fantastic. And again, while I haven't seen the original 2017 release or 2018 release, by all accounts, most fans seem to be very receptive to this idea. Should debut sometime in early to mid 2021, and it should be a completely different experience than the movies because, again, it should be chopped up into a 4-part miniseries for HBO. So, I'm
also wondering how the actors feel about that, because they already put in the work for that movie, and now they're being asked to come back and do it again. Yeah, it's a paycheck, but I'm just curious as to how they feel about that, creatively,
And I'm not saying that there weren't good actors and good acting within the movie, but I think everyone out there, the actors included, are, some of them were kind of cut short. It kind of focused on the wrong things. Joss Whedon's vision, for all we know, and this is something that I think a lot of people should be very supportive of, is that Joss Whedon agreed to come into a project that was already halfway done. The vision was there, and it was left incomplete, for completely acceptable reasons that, Zack Snyder had to leave the set, but he had to come in, find all the pieces, find some way to stitch them together, and have a movie release into theaters and in a very, very short time span. So Joss Whedon did his best, but I think that for Zack Snyder to come in and finish his vision, I'm sure that all the actors are very thankful that they were able to do that. So I'm hoping that, somewhere down the road, this shows studios that they can come back to projects that maybe flopped at some point. They can come back to them and maybe salvage something of it, because people love the Marvel movies. Every time something from the Marvel universe gets put out, hey, that's like a $1 or $2 billion movie just for being in the universe. I think that Justice League has a lot of the same potential. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good time to be into it's a really good time to be into comic book movies. Chris, I know that you said you weren't, but there's also a new take
Batman coming out with Robert Pattinson.
Yes, the new Batman, and I think it's going to be a multiverse one. So Ben Affleck is going to be in that one as well as some of the other Batmans. So yeah.
Interesting.
He's going to be one of, and while he's not the focus, he's going to be one of the Batmen, and I guess the multiverse, kind of has them kind of jumping out, which isn't something that it is something we have seen before with Into the Spider-Verse. I know that was animated, but same kind of deal. The idea of the multiverse comes up a lot in the comic books, so it's also cool to see that explored in theater. So. Yeah, looking forward to that one as well. So, story number 2. Carissa, just before I go ahead and pick story number 3, did any of these stand out to you that we sent over?
Um, Probably the one about the race to collect the pandemic history.
That one is interesting because when you think about current events, I guess back in the day when, really before radio, if you wanted to track current events, you had to get newspaper clippings. Newspapers were the way that people found out their information. It was the news of the day. Other than kind of talking with your neighbor and seeing what they were doing, that was the news. And then of course radio came out, and well, yeah, it was newspaper clippings and radio, and they have recordings of radio broadcasts. That's where you get like World War II, and you get kind of like the daily briefings and what happened there. But to archive that is pretty simple. Save a recording of the radio broadcast and save newspaper clippings. That was it. And then came television, and then you have three things: radio, television, and newspaper. Now, let's face it, we have the internet, which just eclipses everything by a mile because there are so many different news sources. Anyone can put it out, and what actually goes viral is, well, yeah, it can be from anywhere, from Twitter, from Facebook. It can be from just random websites putting out columns and articles and things like that. It's very, very hard to archive what is actually happening on a day-to-day basis. So with that being said, here we have an article from Ars Technica. This is from Eve Snyder, and actually Wired.com looks like it's a collaboration between the two. But they said that and they, they're talking about this picture here, saying that a friend from the gym had posted an image to her story of a massive bottle of Purell. At the time, store shelves across the 5 boroughs were already bereft of the disinfectants, and the picture was reminiscent of some kind of night run on the frantic search for sanitizer, saying it was captioned liquid gold. So something as simple as a meme or just an image of a bottle of hand sanitizer in the moment doesn't really seem like much, but looking back, Carissa, how would you best capture, let's say the day-to-day dealings of a pandemic? Because, COVID-19 is going to make the history books. It had a lot of shakeup. It was very disruptive, but how do you capture kind of the day-to-day sentiment of what we all experienced?
I mean, I guess you could probably collect, items here and there. Obviously, you wouldn't want any used masks, but you could collect, the data for the different types of masks that there are out there. You could collect, you could compile the pictures that have been taken, of these empty shelves and things like that, and put those onto billboards and things like that, along with, for example, the Johns Hopkins map that they've got out there that keeps everybody updated. So there's a lot of stuff I feel like you could do, but I'm not sure how you would display it.
That's and displaying is one thing, and then of course the other one is archiving it. So that if anyone out there wants to see it, that is the problem they're dealing with. So here's a quote saying, "Normally, with our rapid response collecting, we are out on the streets." Hoffer says, "These days, though, archivists or archivists." Yeah, whatever. They have to get creative. Many organizations have built online portals for volunteers to submit digital files, audio, photos, poetry, you name it. Some collections are more selective than others, but when the archive is being formed, it's largely digital and donor directed. There can be reason to hold on to almost anything that falls within the scope of the project. Saying that we don't know what a researcher will come in and looking for at any given time. Sorting through these submissions will be a huge amount of work, but that's a problem for a later date. For now, it's about collecting quickly and as widely as possible. So like I said, that could be anything from a meme that happens to be very, very popular to just everyone's kind of day-to-day responses. It could be actual information put out by the government in terms of GDP and jobless claims. It can be images and photos of protests, and obviously there were multiple protests going on at the same time for racial injustice and things like that. All of that has to be collected, not curated at this moment, but yeah, all this craziness, a lot of us just kind of tune it out or look at it and say, wow, that's awful. These folks at these museums have to curate it, find it, and find out what's going on.
It makes it difficult too because it is the internet, so you also have to like sift through all of the garbage that's out there too. So that adds another layer of difficulty to this job of collecting this stuff too.
It certainly does, and like they said, they don't know what people are going to be interested in, kind of after the fact. Take World War II, for instance. I mean, there was a lot of video footage, and obviously the video footage of combat and fighting in theaters was very popular, but equally as popular were kind of like the living conditions and the attitudes and the faces and the voices of just everyday people and what was happening. Not just what battle was fought that day, but what were the sentiments of the people during a great war like that. How were people living? The everyday stuff, the mundane stuff, may be exactly what people, or I should say researchers, are going to look for when they look back at the pandemic of 2020 and see what everyone's response was. And hey, that's what they have to do. So with that being said, just to wrap up this article here, let's see. History centers will create digital exhibits and physical displays one day when historians, kids working on school projects, or anyone who's curious to learn about what it was like to live in, let's say, Austin in 2020, they'll be able to see for themselves. And I think that's the important part. Is hey, we live in a time of high quality image, audio, video, whatever. If anyone wants to see what's going on, they should have the access to the data.
Absolutely. And even still, there's plenty of it out there. You can watch as many Karens as you want with their anti-masking things in the grocery store and all that stuff too. So that's also going to be
I don't think that's a problem that is as like, okay, how do I explain this to my family? It's a problem. People are getting psychotic. Unfortunately, wearing a mask has gotten political for some reason. Protecting yourself and others seems to be something of a political flashpoint. I don't get it, whatever. But I gotta say, it takes one person to do one stupid thing, and suddenly there are 24 cameras and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people reacting to one person. The ability for one person to sway the opinion of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, has gotten to a really dangerous point with social media.
Absolutely. And, God bless the internet, because that's exactly what happened. It's just, it gets up on the internet, everyone sees it everywhere. And it also emboldens other people to do the same thing. They're like, oh, I feel like that too. And then it kind of spreads that way as well.
Absolutely. I just for my own sanity, I have to sit there and think, for every person that is kicked off of a plane for not wearing a mask, there are thousands of people who put on a mask, sit in their seat, and take their plane ride and go on with their lives. It is the exception, not the rule, that people act like this. So, very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I just got to say that for my own sanity, I hope that is not as common as the internet would have us believe.
Right.
And but hey, and by the way, that is very relevant to what we just said, because when people have to look back at 2020 and see what the reactions, what the day-to-day lives were, they can't be swayed by just what was the most popular tweet of the day, because that's not, that is a point in history, but that is not the full picture. And that's what they're trying to archive now. How do people live? How do people cope and adapt to the pandemic? Not just how did President Trump tweet about it that day. So There you go. Okay. There's that article. That was story number 3. Story number 4. Let's go ahead and talk about something a little bit more down to earth. And I should have probably done this one second, but it's still very cool. Flight simulators. They have been around forever. I think that the first flight simulator was back on Windows 98 or XP, maybe even Windows 95. It was put up by Microsoft, and the flight simulator was super cool because it wasn't even that it was like you get to fly a plane, because there are plenty of video games that let you fly a plane. The cool part about this was that you could fly over your neighborhood and see your house. The maps, the GPS, all of it was super detailed, and you could fly over New York City and you could see some of the iconic buildings over New York City. You could fly over the Bay. You could see all the boroughs. And Craig just confirmed it in the chat. Yes, it was Microsoft who put it out. Very detailed, and back then you needed counting on my hand, it was 16 floppy disks because it was so detailed for the time. It was something else. Well, Microsoft just put out a new one, and this is an article from The Verge. Check this one out here, saying that they recently released a new Microsoft Flight Simulator. And they said that it's a game best enjoyed with a dedicated flight stick, but actually finding one is a bit of a challenge. That's right, they just released a new one, and I've seen some of it. Carissa, if you ever want to fly a plane, really learn how to fly a plane, Microsoft did a very good job on recreating all of the machinations of a cockpit. So, yeah, it's pretty detailed.
Pretty adequate. It looks like it's got a lot of little buttons and a lot of changing gears and stuff on the inside.
I saw someone, and this was a live streamer on Twitch. I saw someone trying to fly a plane, and he turned the wrong knob and cut the fuel to the engines.
Oh no!
And you say, oh no, it's a feature of a plane that, if you're leaking fuel or if the engine's on fire, you should have that emergency ability to turn off the fuel. But then he didn't know how to, he turned the knob back. He didn't know how to restart the plane. You have to know how to start a plane. The game just won't be okay, we're going to start the plane up for you again. You have to know the procedures for takeoff, landing, starting your plane, turning off your plane, all that good stuff. So
that's super interesting. I want don't you need more than just the single joystick for that? I would feel like you need a lot more stuff for that.
Most planes just have the one kind of steering wheel looking not whatever. Planes have whatever that's called in the cockpit, just to have that controller. The joystick is the best way to fly the plane, because you can maneuver, forward for down, backwards for up. It's the most natural feeling for a flight simulator. Turns out, though, most applications for joysticks and flight sticks, as they're calling them here, they're gone. I remember playing an old Star Wars game back in 1999 or 2000 that had you use one because it had flying in it. But overall, games just are not made for joysticks anymore. Well, turns out, because this game was released and going on to Amazon, as of Monday, August 24th, they're either listed as unavailable, only used available, so that would be people trying to scalp, or scheduled to be back in stock in the coming months, saying that it's possible that if there is a current shortage is directly caused by the release of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Flight yokes and sticks are a relatively niche product to begin with, and they're complaining about shortages even before this. Now, plenty of other gaming accessories like the Nintendo Ring Fit, which I actually want one of those, have also been selling out this year thanks to the combination of increased demand and people, staying home for COVID. They want some new toys, and turns out manufacturing takes a hit because of the pandemic as well. So, and by the way, Star Wars Squadrons, although that's a recent release, I'm trying to think, maybe it was Rogue Squadron. No, that's the movie. I'll think of it eventually. But anyways, flight sticks are hard to get, and of course you can buy them on Amazon, Best Buy, wherever, but most of them are sold out or really unavailable. So I thought that was pretty interesting that a technology that not that popular, turns out there's a huge run on it because of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Pretty cool.
Kind of expensive too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, they definitely can be. And of course, depending on where you get them from, and the level of detail. Don't get me wrong. Some people really get into their flight simulators, and they make entire cockpits for a flight simulator, and it's something that you can spend a lot of money on. Like, people spend hundreds of thousands recreating these things. I know that the military and a lot of the training facilities for pilots also build highly detailed flight simulators. Yeah, I can see why, just looking here, you have everything from like, actually Logitech makes a lot of these, anything from like $300 all the way up to like $1,000 for some of these pieces. It's an expensive hobby. Like, if you're looking to save money, don't get into flight simulation and don't get into model trains. That's all of the advice I can give you.
But I mean, flight simulation is cheaper than actually buying a plane. So, I mean, it kind of trades off a little bit.
Yeah, and of course, fuel is going to be a lot cheaper in the long run, but you can spend a pretty penny on that. And also, I would say avoid any kind of hobby with mini figurines, because those can also cost you an arm and a leg as well. Okay, and by the way, you just sent me a link. Let's go to open this. Yes, this is one of them, a Logitech G Pro flight yoke system, and yeah, looks like
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can. I'm sorry. You can build a very detailed set. So there you go. So, and with that being said, let's go ahead and continue on here. That was story number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Story number 6. So there's a lot about, let's see, I think there's one about Apple, one about Tesla I really wanted to get into, and
the Tesla one.
Tesla. Yeah, you know what? We'll end with a light and fluffy one later. Let's talk about Tesla first. So, Carissa, what do you know about Tesla? This is just for my information. What do you know about Tesla, the car company?
The car company, I understand they make electric vehicles. They're also dabbling in batteries and I believe solar panels, maybe, that connect to the batteries.
They do that indeed. They definitely make solar panels. That was through Solar City. They reincorporated them. They make cars, like you said. Batteries is really where they're making the most gains, because everything that they do is dependent on good batteries. They also make an electric generator that stores electricity. It's called the Powerwall, and it's a whole ecosystem that involves batteries. Now, here's the thing. Some of their products, and I'm specifically talking about the Tesla, they found it cheaper when they build these things to build them all exactly the same. So if you get a Model 3, it's going to be same as every other Model 3. Many other car manufacturers, though, they give you options when you buy a car. You can buy seat warmers. You can buy, power steering, whatever it is. That's how they make their money, with those add-ons, with those extra features, whereas Tesla, again, built all of them the exact same. Now, Carissa, this is what other people in the past have gotten a little upset for, is that because every car is the same, they artificially limit their cars. So they will put in, depending on which version you get and you buy, they might reduce your range of your battery by 100 miles, or they might give you 50 less horsepower on your engine, on your acceleration or your power. They might reduce your top speed, or things like that. They will artificially handicap the car so that you'll pay the extra. Let's say the Model 3 comes out at like $32,000, you can pay up to like $42,000 to unlock all the features and get the best performance out of your vehicle.
I mean, some other vehicles do that as well. Like, you usually have speed guides on your regular cars and stuff like that too, where it's like you can't go past a certain speed. So I mean, that makes sense, but it's interesting how Tesla's doing it that way, rather than just having the multiple ones made and you get to pick one that's already there. You get to mod your car, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and
it's all electronic too, so it's actually like, digitally modding the car. It's not like you're adding a new spoiler or new wheels or something. It's all internal within the system.
Right. Some people have issue with it, because they're like, if I'm paying for the same car, why are you artificially limiting it? The answer is, of course, the economics of the whole thing. If people can afford the $32,000 to get the car, they're going to let people, get it at a lower price point. But if people want the full value, then you have to spend the extra 10 grand. And luckily, they've come far enough that if you don't get all the extra features, you can come in later to a dealership and get them turned on, activated, whatever, for the difference. So that's good. Now, this company called Ingenext, Ingenext. I don't know why I spelled that for you guys, because they were doing something that was kind of illegal. They said that they said that they had a device that you plugged into the car, and it would allow you to unlock some of these features that a lot of people didn't pay for before, which include the faster acceleration, the more horsepower, the longer battery range, and drive mode, which drive mode I think allows you to kind of take your hands off the wheel. A lot of these features, again, you had to pay for, but users were finding ways around it. And it didn't take long. Like, it only took a couple of days of this getting popular that they released a new update to the car, because most Tesla cars are updated almost every single day, and they made sure that anything plugged in that wasn't from a Tesla dealership would be found incompatible, and you would not be allowed to modify the car in any way with a third-party device. Which makes sense, because that's how they make their money. Once again, that's almost like I can see where a user would be like, oh, I can buy this thing for a couple $100. That's way better than $10,000. But Tesla's is of course saying, wow, that's $10,000 we're not going to get.
Right. So, and yeah. I mean, it's honestly only a matter of time before something else comes out to bypass that. So I imagine it's going to be an ongoing battle between Tesla and, nerds that can code.
Yeah.
Frankly. So.
Yeah, well, they already announced that the company that puts out this third-party application, they're planning to counter the update in a week or two with a solution that allows its mod to run unimpeded. So, yep, they said give us a week, we'll have something, and it'll work. They said that only 3 customers are known to have updated their cars with Tesla code before trying the update. So only 3 people have actually tried this. Now, the obvious reason that Tesla doesn't want this is that if you can mod the car to limit a little bit, then you can also mod the car to overclock the performance, and that can cause all kinds of issues, including heating issues, Tesla's catching on fire, Tesla's losing control, and all that and more. Tesla does not want that. They want to make sure that the operating system and their cars stay as factory set as possible. So third-party tinkering, Carissa, is unfortunately just not encouraged whatsoever.
Oh, it's not encouraged for pretty much anything, and people are going to do it anyway. So I mean,
I would argue that cars, more
it's
so
than different. It's more of like a death trap, but
well, cars in general, I would say, are very open to being modified. Just earlier in the article, you were saying things like spoilers and whatnot. You can modify a car and it can still be street legal, pretty safely. But when it comes to the electronics of these things, they're not a fan. So the other side of that is that, hey, the tech crowd, the nerdy crowd, the crowd that would look into hacking an electric vehicle, they're probably going to be drawn to a Tesla because of all the technology anyways. So yeah, it's Tesla's going to try their best. So there you go.
Good luck, Tesla.
Good luck, indeed. So, they're only worth $800 billion. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
That's it.
Yeah, pretty cheap. So, with that being said, this one is pretty silly, and I want everyone out there, not our audience, because our audience is very smart and intelligent and beautiful. But some people out there are not very tech savvy. And by some people, I mean, I don't know, let's take, for instance, the women who play Scrabble Go. And I guess scammers found out that this is where they congregate. And hey, this might be a good place to meet women. I got to say, Carissa, just personally, don't go on Scrabble to meet women. Would you say that it is a safe thing to say?
I would probably say so. I would think so, because chances are they're not there to meet people. They're there to play Scrabble. They don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, don't get in their face with this, but some people did. And turns out they were they were scammers, and also they were creepy, I guess, by this article. This article from the BBC saying that creepy men message women on Scrabble Go app. This is by Zoe Kleinman, and yeah, I guess you go where your audience is. They said that they begin a game, then, a number of women who play Scrabble on the Scopely app, Scrabble Go, say that they are being messaged by creepy men within the game's chat function. This is to be expected because they have a chat function in a mobile game. Probably a bad idea. They begin a game and then they start asking where they live, whether they are married, and want to continue chatting using other messaging apps like WhatsApp. WhatsApp is one of the favorite out there because it's anonymous, and you can send money through it. So that's a very popular one because we're going to find out these guys are probably romance scammers. Now, and also, let's face it, if you're playing Scrabble, that is an audience that might skew a little bit older and who may be more susceptible to a scam like this.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone's grandmother loves to play Scrabble. So they said that one woman who is in her 60s and lives in London says that she was contacted via private message by 2 or 3 people a week, all claiming to be men from the US. And they said that it's almost like a script, starting with how are you doing? They play very badly, so you win the game, and then they big you up, which I guess builds you up, compliment you. Saying that I just want to check, can't we be friends? When you say, so when you say no, some of them disappear, they resign from the game. If you don't reply at all, most of them resign from the game, obviously fishing for that back and forth, for that conversation. Let's see. So some of this, she believes many of these are scammers. English did not appear to be their first language, and one man confessed to using his son's photograph as a profile picture because he thought that his son was more attractive, saying that this is not a dating site, as you just said, Carissa. So let's see. So they don't tolerate this kind of thing. Looks like the app has added a blocking feature. It was just launched a couple of months ago, and it says that they have about 2.5 million players daily. So there you go.
Wow. The thing is with this too is that the fact that it's not just Scrabble. Women can't go anywhere without being harassed. If there's a way for some dude to message you on whatever it is you're doing, they're going to. So I mean, this is a part of a bigger issue.
I've heard, and let's not get too grotesque about this, but I've heard that men can be very aggressive when they feel they are safe behind a screen and they get to interact with women as they, I guess, kind of feel safe to do.
Right, and that is even worse because obviously they feel safe and they're free to just say whatever they want because it's anonymous, it's this, it's that, and it can be really
especially on dating sites.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably the worst place to get the messages from.
And I guess that's the problem, is that it's leaking out from there. It's going to other audiences that are not, specifically looking for relationships or even that interaction. They're looking to play Scrabble, and these people are trying to get phone numbers and trying to get contact information, which is very, very bad. So
I do wonder if these are just older people, though, that are just lonely because they've been in their house for 6 months because of COVID. And then they're just like, I'll just talk to anybody anywhere. Oh, my God, a female. And then they just go off with it. I have no idea.
So you're saying that, maybe these, maybe they're not scammers. Maybe they're just lonely, bored, and looking to get into trouble.
Yeah, could be.
Could be. So yeah, so that is actually a pretty big part of it, with a lot of people not being able to socialize, especially with the older generations that are having to quarantine, I guess, kind of more aggressively than younger generations, because they are the ones most at risk due to COVID-19. People in nursing homes cannot leave the facility whatsoever, so they are very starved for that they're very starved for that interaction with another person. So let's go ahead and finish this up saying, and they have another quote here. One woman who signed the petition 3 days ago wrote, "I do not like being targeted by creepy men who want to chat and not play Scrabble." See, her big problem with this is not that they're creepy, it's that they don't want to play Scrabble. Is that they, if I had to guess, they just back out of the game without playing. If they played and they played decently, I don't think she would have as big of a problem with, "Oh, hey, can we stay in touch?" It's that, "Hey, where do you live? What do you do? What's your number?" And then they leave the game. Yeah, and then they suck at Scrabble and they don't play Scrabble. That's the bigger issue for this lady. I understand you. Now,
absolutely. Like maybe if they were better, she'd be more willing to talk to them.
Right, absolutely. So, Australia's Competition and Consumer Commission told Gizmodo it had received 2 reports of romance scams on Scrabble Go in the first 3 months, but it had also received 2 about the previous EA apps during the first half of 2020. This seems to be a running theme with other apps. Suddenly, I'm inundated with guys wanting to hook up because they have fallen madly in love with me at first sight. That was someone who wrote on a blog about the Scrabble-like words with friends. It's a problem that is
words are very attractive. If you can use big words, it's very attractive to some people.
Absolutely. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Ladies, calm down. Now, it's a problem that is common across many social media platforms, as we were just discussing, and they have a cybersecurity professional saying, as individuals, we really need to start treating unsolicited online contact with people we don't know as suspicious until proven otherwise, which is great advice. If you did not initiate the interaction and you've never met this person and have no reason to interact with them, don't assume they're just being friendly. Just like a random person walking up to you on the street and striking up a conversation, be aware of your surroundings. Don't get into their white van.
Right. Don't park too close. Make sure you're in lit areas, things like that.
Yes, the common sense things that can save a life, and in this case, potentially save a bank account. So there's that one. I Scrabble Go. You never think it, but there you go. Okay, our next story.
Thought you were safe.
I know, just when you thought you were safe. Our next story. Let's talk about. Actually, I like this one. This one. Let's see. Actually, too long. We're not going to talk about the dice. Let's talk about. This one's also light and fluffy. It seems to be a theme for the day. We'll see how long we can keep it going for. BTS, Dynamite. BTS is Dynamite. So I guess Dynamite is the song, and BTS is the supergroup, the K-pop supergroup. Check this one out. I remember the last time we talked about numbers and YouTube was, Carissa, can you guess what phenomena was happening the last time we talked about YouTube viewership numbers?
Viewership numbers. Was it the coronavirus?
It was Gangnam Style.
Ah, yes.
It was the first video to go past 1 billion, and it did not take it long before it hit 2 billion. And of course, other songs and other videos on YouTube have taken the most viewed video by now. I'm sure that Baby Shark is just blowing past it by now. But I got to say that it really, it really showed people that YouTube as a platform is massive. The reach it can have is absolutely stunning. And this is another example of that coming to us from BBC. And this is more entertainment, but I found it interesting because it did, again, involve YouTube. Dynamite, the latest single by the Korean boy band BTS, has smashed YouTube records and looks to set the UK's #1 single this Friday. Before going further, K-pop, very divisive kind of subject. Either you are a huge K-pop fan or you do not give 2 figs about K-pop. Carissa, where do you land?
I do not care about K-pop personally.
Okay.
I have friends and family that do, and I'm just like, I don't really get it.
Yeah, it seems so produced. And some people like I guess kind of more natural and authentic artists, and kind of more soulful stuff. K-pop is like the exact opposite. It is manufactured to the nth degree. It is catchy as all heck. I swear they have like psychologists who help write the lyrics and write the melodies. It is bubblegum for the mind. And hey, people love that.
It can be entertaining if you're into, that kind of thing. And, there's also a lot of choreography that goes into these K-pop groups, which can be interesting too, because not a lot of people dance anymore, right?
Yeah, well, and you're right. It's way beyond just what I said about the music. It's also kind of the drama. It is, the supergroup boy bands that are put together. It is the supergroup female dancers and singers that are put together. There's an entire culture that is revolved around kind of the Korean pop scene. And you're right, that is actually a huge part of it. So when these guys were put together into the same band, I guess they had a new single. They were looking to kind of combine their audiences and put something special out, and looks like they have a winner here, saying that they 101 million, I can't say people, a certain amount of people watched this video 101.1 million times in 24 hours, and it was just released on Friday. 100 million people. I can't imagine 100 million watches on this thing in just 24 hours. That's a record.
I do bet you, though, that a lot of that is just rewatch. I imagine people put that on and they just keep it on repeat.
For sure. But still, very impressive all the same. They said that... Yeah, and by the way, they said that this surpasses the previous record set by Blackpink, whose song "How You Like That" racked up 86.3 million views in 24 hours. So the previous record was another K-pop band, and now we have this one beaten by like almost 25% increase by another K-pop band. And they said that more than 3 million fans also tuned in to watch the clip's live premiere, almost double the previous record. And they said that this is the first single from BTS to be sung entirely in English, and the band said that they wanted to convey positive vibes, energy, hope, love, and purity, and everything. So there you go. I guess you have to have that mass appeal if you're going to hit 100 million in 24 hours.
That's crazy.
It is. So let's get to a few more numbers, and then we'll go ahead and move on. Let's see. So it has already topped the iTunes download chart in 104 different countries. Carissa, you may not care about it. I may not care about it. To be the number one most...
everyone else does.
Apparently, to be the number one downloaded song in 104 different countries, and they said that this could give the band their first UK number one single this Friday. According to the official chart company, Dynamite notched up 1.7 million UK streams in the first 48 hours, and is currently 1,700 chart sales ahead of Joe Corey and their chart topper. So let's see. Dynamite comes 6 months after BTS's last studio album, and the band are due to perform live at the MTV VMAs on August 30th. So,
what?
Yeah, there you go. They're popular. They've been popular, and now they have another hit. We can't play it on the air here because I think their lawyers would just kind of pop out of the shadows and just take us off. But I'm probably going to listen to it afterward because I'm curious. What song can be good enough to make 100 million views in just 24 hours? That's crazy.
Plus, you can be part of that number if you listen to it after the show anyway.
I'm going to. I am definitely going to. No shame. Now, Carissa, we have like 2 minutes left, and we have some of these stories here that we didn't get to. We'll probably cover these at a later date. We have a guest for tomorrow's program, and let me go ahead and get that real quick. Tomorrow's guest is going to be a company called, and I see what happened there. So tomorrow's guests are going to be Sarah, and this is the former AI director for Google. And it's going to be talking all about artificial intelligence. What does it really mean, and how far has it come? What can it do? What can it not do? And it's going to be a very interesting conversation about artificial intelligence.
Very cool.
Absolutely. So that's going to be tomorrow. And of course, we're probably going to pick up on some of these stories here after that segment. And by the way, we completely skipped some of the segments that are. I was just telling Carissa this before the show about TikTok and their recent lawsuit with the United States government and everything that's happening with, we had this article here about how Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook fame used his private meetings with the Trump administration to push an anti-TikTok agenda. So, things like that. We are supposed to have a reporter for the New York Times, I think, the New York Times, here on the show to talk all about that story and more. Carissa, we're flat out of time.
All right. Well, that was a good show today.
I think so too, and I want to thank everyone out there for, tuning in and stopping by, saying hi. Thank you so much. If you want to find out more, computeramerica.com. There you can find the podcast, which is if you missed the show for any reason, can't catch it live, check out the podcast, and that is available wherever podcasts are heard. And it's simply today's show rebroadcast. We're thinking about other content for the podcast, but probably not a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Probably. So you can find more there. Find us on social media at Compute America. Until next time, everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.